In this episode, I'm interviewing Sarah Anselment. I met Sarah through TikTok. She actually reached out to me and we started chatting. Sarah shares her story of addiction. She was a meth user. She's been sexually assaulted in the meth world, and that's something, I'm interested in hearing more about. As I stayed home a lot in my drug use, so I'm kind of interested to hear, what it was like being out on the street for Sarah, and getting into these situations that made her trauma worse. Can't wait to share her story. We're going to invite her into the chat now. Hey, Sarah. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. You?
Good. I'm excited to see you. So I wanted to share your story of addiction and how you got into it, like what brought you to addiction. So tell me a little bit of how you ended up using. How long were you using meth firstly, actually?
So I used meth I started at age 14 and I got sober at 24.
Wow. 10 full years. That's
Yep.
a long time. Wow. Okay. So do you want to tell me, what led you to meth use?
Yeah. So actually I started smoking pot. That's what kind of opened the doors. My mom kicked me out because she was mad. She didn't know what to do. So she just I think she just kicked me out. And so I went to stay with my dad, 14 years old. And he actually was a meth dealer, and he was a hardcore meth user. And so when I would hang out there and see him dealing, and he'd have younger guy friends that I found very attractive, they would come over, and one of them offered it to me one day, and I got a lot of male attention, and I tried it. I saw my dad doing it. They had fun. I tried it and I liked the attention, and that's kind of how it started.
So you're saying I like hearing this because like I've told you this before, my husband used to sell. So it's interesting to me, and we were both addicts while he was selling. So it's interesting to me because you weren't getting male validation at home because your dad was using meth. So you were seeking it out in a different type of style, which is so interesting to me because I for many years thought what I was doing to my children wasn't as bad as what I went through,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just as bad, and it's interesting to me. Yeah, you sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what happened with my first rape, if we want to get into that.
Yeah. Get right into it.
So one day my dad was out of town. I don't know what he was doing. He was out of town a lot. And so I was home by myself, and a couple of his younger friends came over to grab a bag because I had the meth stashed for him to collect the money when he was gone. And they were like inviting me over to their house and to have a couple drinks because I drank. I was a 14-year-old that liked to drink and have kind of party. And so I had one shot, and then I woke up, and while he was finishing on me, and I only 14 years old, I was so confused. This was like my one of my second sexual experience. And I was so confused because one shot, I know what I can handle for alcohol. And him and his buddy had planned this to drug my drink. And then they literally just threw me in their truck. I could barely walk. They threw me in their truck, put me on my doorstep. I was just left there. And yeah, it was sad because my dad didn't believe me when I told him. He believes me now 10 years later, but yeah.
What do you think made him not believe you in that moment? Like what was his reasoning is what I want to know. Yeah. It's kind of
Think because he was a user. I mean, I don't know. I think because he was always using and they were kind of his buddies, and I don't know. I question that all the time.
Yeah, no, it's something I think we all question, like why don't they believe us in that moment? Like it's something I question every day. I know that. So I can see. And so when he's came to light now and you said he does believe you now?
Yeah. Yep. Because that person had been getting in trouble more after me with these kind of experiences and had went to jail.
Okay, so it took multiple victims before he'd believe you. And
Yeah.
that's unfortunately very common for us as well, right? And how hard it is for us to speak out. So it's interesting that people don't believe us in that moment. So you've also, you said you had did you have multiple sexual assaults in your meth use?
Yeah, so the sexual assaults in my meth use didn't come till after I started shooting up.
Oh.
And I think, yeah, so, you know, I was 14 and then I kind of got sober. I kind of stopped using and then I had my daughter and then I started using again. And it's been in and out of my life. And when I found the needle, when I was about 20, 21, that's when it opened a whole new door to chaos and really bad people and really big sex addicts.
Yeah, I believe that because meth is a sex drug for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And cocaine is too, but I've never tried meth, but I've heard, and you know what, I'm grateful that I've never tried it. I'm just grateful, but it's been close to our home and it scares the shit out of me. And it is, you're right, it's such a sex drug, and I can't imagine the scary scenarios you'd be in with that. And then wow, there's so much, you know, with meth use that's scary. There's so much.
And you know, that's the thing is, I know this is happening to other women, and I don't know how long it was happening to me until I finally found out, because this is how I found out that I was being drugged and raped by multiple people at once. So I was never into heroin, but since I was doing meth and I would let people mix up my concoction, they would put, you know, different pills and downers and heroin in my needle. And I actually woke up when I wasn't supposed to. Like, I came out of it when there was multiple men surrounding me and I was naked and there was needles and like the water that you used to suck up the, you know, and I woke up and they gave me more and I knocked back out. And when I woke up, I was so, like, finally came out of it, I was so sore. I felt like I had gotten hit by a million trucks. And my friends, I'm doing quotes right now, right?
Oh yeah,
my
yeah.
friends that I was fighting,
your drug,
these other men, yes, they were telling me I was crazy and that, but I know what happened to me.
Oh, I believe you. Yeah, I do know what you mean. It's the gaslighting that comes after it. I mean, even in addiction, these people, like the sexual predators, even in addiction, like they still gaslight you right out. Like they all have that same, you know, cycle of abuse, right? And I mean, I think in drug use, it's such learned behavior sometimes too, you know, like learned behavior, and they probably have been sexually, I'm not making excuses for anybody sexually assaulting anyone, but it's to me, it's so widespread, like how much sexual assault is going on in the world that is so underreported. Did you ever report any of these abuses?
No, I really didn't. And then, you know, it's really sick to say this, but I almost got used to it. And I had this boyfriend that was just so addicted to sex. When I would nod out or be tired from staying up for days, he would literally just I'd wake up with his hands down my pants and all this other stuff. And I would just act like it was normal. And people were all around watching this. And I woke up like, oh, it's like, I got used to it. It's really sick to say, but you know, I was gone.
I fully get that. I mean, I actually am a sex addict. And during my addiction with cocaine, like that was the reason why I really struggle to have sex sober because of my sexual assaults. So I was really using just so I could have sex. And that's like, it's crazy. I mean, I had a husband to do it with, fortunately, but I'm like, it's so scary.
I want to say something that you said that, and I hope this brings you hope that, so now I'm with the love of my life. I met him when I was in treatment. And when we first started getting together, it was very hard for me. And I'm almost getting emotional thinking of this because he thought, what is wrong with him? Like, you know, why don't I want to have sex? Why don't I want to touch him and be intimate? And that faded. Like now that I'm 7 years clean, I'm just going to say, like, the sex life and me being able to be intimate sober is just like, it's the best ever.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm getting there. Like I want to get there.
Yeah.
I'm right now. I struggle with physical touch and those things really, really, really are hard right now. But I know, like, you give me hope. Like I'm crying on my podcast right now.
I love it. I love it.
Hope, because I do feel alone in that sometimes, you know, like you're right. I feel like my husband doesn't think he's good enough, or I don't feel good enough for him, you know, and then I like try to fix it externally in looking a certain way and feeling a certain way for myself, you know, so I feel inadequate. So anyways, you just gave me some hope. And that's why I wanted Sarah on my podcast.
We're healing together.
I mean, for those of you who don't know, Sarah and I, like, we've been talking for some time, and I kind of go to Sarah when I like feel down because she really lifts me up, and it's really nice.
Oh, I just adore you.
So, Sarah, what brought you to sobriety?
Ooh, yeah, a lot of. Okay, so I finally got sober after being locked up many different times. You know, I'd walk back into the same drug house, and I got to the point where one day I had literally lost everything, you guys. I lost custody of my daughter. I lost my home, my job, everything. I was on 2 counties most wanted list. I had nothing. And I was walking around with a needle that was coagulated with blood. And because I couldn't hit, I was all, you know, your veins get damaged. And I was literally all picked apart, blood everywhere, screaming because I couldn't find a vein, and I was still going to shoot that nasty crap. And that's when I realized, like, I don't even want to live. I want to die. Like, why am I even here? And I prayed. I dropped down on my knees and I prayed, and I said, God, like, and it's the first time I prayed in a couple years. I love God, and I had lost him. Okay. So I prayed and I said, God, if there's a sign, please, like, show me. And this is so crazy. 20 minutes later, the house I walked in on got raided, and they knew me by my name. They said, Anselment, when are you going to get some better friends? And I was crying, and they're like, are you high? I'm like, yes, but I prayed for you. They're like, okay, she's on something. I'm like, no, I'm ready. Like, handcuff me, bring me. And then after that, I did my time, and after I prayed, I felt clean again. I felt my eyes and my heart renewed, and I was ready for treatment, and the rest is history, man.
Honestly, my journey's been a little different for how I got sober. But I had a rock bottom, you know. You have to have it, and it was my son. He was coming home. He was doing things he shouldn't have been doing, and I seen him just heading down the exact same path as me, and I said to myself, you know, there was that incident where my son was doing that, and then there was another incident where I had shot up in my bathroom, and I fell on the floor, and my son was in the other room, and he came running, and he was like, Mom, are you okay? And like, I'll never forget his little voice, and like, I really wasn't okay. Like, I wanted to die, you know? And at that moment, and the other moment of my son, those two boys saved my life, because I can't let them see me like this. And they brought me back because I knew that I was giving them, even though I took them out of the sexual abuse because my family was so infested with it, they still were getting the same fate as me. And it was just, I was eye-opening. Well, I'm really crying about this one, but I've never really shared that like in such intimate detail with somebody. So thank you. It's a little piece of my healing today.
I love that. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your rock bottom, because I can't even imagine how it felt screaming on a street looking for a vein. Because like at that moment you're so sick, you know, like you're so sick, like you can't even function. You don't even want to function. just wow, that must have been scary. And you were only 24.
Yep, 24 years old.
Wow. So Sarah, what would you say to somebody who is in your position, you know, in one of those houses right now, because somebody's there?
Oh my gosh. That makes me so emotional thinking if I were to see somebody like that, I would let them know that the people that they're hanging out with don't care about them, and that there is such a beautiful life out there that you can really feel, and you can love, and you can be happy again. And it's just not worth it. Like, there's so much I would want to say, but I would want them to know that their family, that their family that's out there that cares about them, loves them. And yeah, I mean, not everybody has that, but
There's hope, right? Like there is
yeah,
hope. Like
there's hope.
I don't have a family that supports me, but there's hope. Like
That's the thing, is it really comes down to people, places, and things, because those last times I kept walking back in that house, and it's crazy how sober I was. I just did all this jail time and they hand me another needle. Like, okay,
yeah.
I'm just going to do it again.
And they think they're doing you a favor. Those friends think they're doing you a favor when they pass that over to you. And like, I mean, they're going to kill you.
Right.
I remember those times too, where you get, somebody gives you something. It's almost like they're trying to make you feel better, but yet it's just making you feel 10 times worse.
So how did you start the needle?
Well, my husband has always been a very, like, I want to call him a progressive addict, your typical addict. Like, he came from a family history of addiction. So, he was really interested. He really knew the world. I knew it a little bit because I had started using when I was 14. Like, I started snorting cocaine and using ecstasy. And then when I met my husband, he had already like dabbled in crack and but he wasn't a hard addict, right? Well, then he got addicted to Oxycontin, of course. Somebody had a big prescription, was handing him over. He was selling them. My husband loves to deal. Like he loved to deal. That was his addiction as well, right? So he progressively got worse, and it was kind of a if I can't beat him, join him vibe for me. I liked cocaine and I liked sex. So I really liked those two combinations together, and he would do that both for me. So as his addiction progressed, mine just progressed with him because I was not getting any love from anybody. The first person who I ever told my abuse to, he was there. He opened, he never judged me once. Like, he never ever judged me. He never made a single comment about the fact that I, had like relationship with my brother that was sexual, and I could tell him all that, and he never judged me. So I wanted him to love me. So I did what he did too, and and it did take the pain away. Like, he taught me a way to take my pain away. And he didn't do it out of hate. He did it out of love. But he didn't know any other way either, right? So, the two of us, we were a fucking disaster together.
Yeah.
I enabled his addiction because I wanted him to bring me home the drugs, and he introduced me to the needle, and it was Kaylin. And I always say, my husband's name's Kaylin. Kaylin starts it and Tiffany won't finish it. Like, I won't let it end. Like, he would bring the drugs home and start the event, and I would make him keep going out and getting more and getting more and getting more and getting more and figuring it out. Go steal this, go get that, figure it out. And I was a mean, mean, mean addict. I was at home. I would stay at home and just make him do whatever he had to do to get drugs. Yeah, and that was me. That was my addiction.
Oh gosh.
It was scary too, though. I was home a lot when he was just out doing in the game, and that's scary. Like, he's running around the streets. I don't even know if he's coming home ever. Is the police calling? Like, I don't miss that. I don't miss that,
Yeah. I've had guns held up to my head, and it's just, it's a dangerous world, and so many people are living it and stuck there.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. My husband and I, we're stuck there for some years too. I mean, selling gets you into some nasty shit, and you're not you don't know if you're going to get out, you owe so much drug debt because I don't miss this stuff. Like, it's so nice and healing talking about it because I couldn't talk about it before because it just hurt to talk about, but saying it's reminding me why I'm staying sober.
Yeah. And like, look at all these blessings, that the recovery life brings you.
Like I'm today's a goal for me, this was a goal I set and I hit it, and I've never done that in my entire life. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I wanted to ask, I'm going to ask you, what is your future? Like, tell me about the future for Sarah Anselment.
Oh my gosh, the future for me, I have so many big plans. I run my own business. It's network marketing. So I sell makeup and skincare, and I hit the top of the company last year, which is super crazy because of my past. I never thought I could be successful. And so that's going really well. And I just plan to do that. And it's going to lead to enough income to retire my man sometime. And so he can be home with us. And I want to write a book. I want to start my own clothing line. Gosh, you're inspiring me to do a podcast, like a whole bunch.
I love that. Okay, and this is what I say about addicts, and I wanted to say it because when we are in active addiction, we will stop at nothing to get our drug. Nothing. So when we are sober, we will stop at nothing for success. And it's so amazing to me. Like, when we come out, we always come out on top.
Yes. Like you said, we fought for our life back, that we fought for that drug. We're going to fight for the best that we deserve now.
Yep. And I'm inspired by Sarah. I'm so excited. Thank you for joining, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so proud of you, and thank you.
Inspiring me. Talk soon.
I will.
Bye.
Okay, bye.